Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lab. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to prepare for a shoot.
So there are many factors involved, obviously, but what we want to make sure is that you guys spend some time thinking about everything that's involved and how to best approach this situation. The one thing that you really want to avoid is not being prepared. You cannot spend enough time thinking about how to do things, preparing yourself, bringing all the gear that's possibly necessary, not even what you think you're going to use, but the backup stuff, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got all of the possibilities accounted for beforehand. You can't put too much energy into that.
And early on in my career, I neglected that importance, and it would get me in jams in shoots all the time. I would think that I had everything prepared and everything was great, and I wouldn't put the mental energy, true mental energy, into the preparation process. And there's nothing worse than showing up without an extra battery, without an extra, maybe a zip tie or something that's going to help you get you out of a jam.
Yeah, so I think initially what we should be talking about here is before the shoot happens, before the morning of the shoot, before you're loading the car, all of that stuff. Before. Yeah, let's get across the importance here of you guys going through the entire thing, everything that could happen that day in your head, okay? And maybe even making an outline, make some notes about what you think could happen, what you think you'll need. Having a sort of standard equipment list where you kind of check off the things that you think you're going to need and then make sure you have that in your vehicle the next day really helps. So kind of taking a visual walk through your entire process from the time that you're going to load your car, to driving to the location, to breaking out all the equipment, making sure that all your people are taken care of, setting everything up, going through a test process, and then actually executing the shoot. Having all that play through in your head really helps to prepare you to do that in the moment without confusion, without thinking, what was I supposed to do? Did I forget this, that? One thing that can really destroy your ability to be effective on set is panic, and that pre-visualization process really helps to kind of dispense with that.
And I'm a mental list type of person. I store a lot in my brain, which I realized doing that for shoots is terrible practice. I'm not one to write out a physical list. You are, I'm assuming?
Yeah, every time.
But writing out a physical list for me helped me the next morning. Here's the thing, you could spend the whole evening and night charging things and doing whatnot and getting everything set and you ran it all through, but the next morning after you've had some rest, you're gonna leave that battery and the charger in the wall. Unless you have a physical list, right? Because you're so anxious about getting out the door, getting ready, do you have just the normal things that you need, you're gonna forget those things. But having that list to really go off and physically check off 2 batteries, ooh, that's right, it's charging over here. That's gonna help you guys a lot. And it relieves that mental headroom in your brain to focus on other important things.
Yeah, and those things being the creative aspects of what you're going to do once you get on set. So if you have all of the compulsory stuff taken care of, everything's in place, you don't have to worry as you're halfway to the location, oh my gosh, did I grab that? Oh no, what if I don't have that, and then you have to pull over. I've done that a few times, absolutely, and then you go through the bag and oh gosh, there it is, thank God. But not having to do that allows you to think about the creative aspects of what you're going to do, how you're going to position talent, or how you're going to set a scene, how you're going to light the situation, creative audio approaches you might take. So having your mind free to do that stuff is incredibly valuable when it comes to actually arriving on set and executing that creative vision that's necessary that day.
And some people believe that minimal is better. I am not that person. I will cram my trunk full of whatever I think I could possibly need that day. I'm not the kind of person that just walks up with one Pelican case with like, everything's nice in here. I don't need anything else outside of this. Because that's not reality. I'll throw zip ties. Zip ties are a beautiful thing. Velcro straps, random clamps, additional batteries, additional adapters, just in case you run into an audio device or a camera device that doesn't have the right adapter for a certain cable. And I just have a bag of random stuff. that I can't tell you how many times I'm like, whew, glad I brought that bag because nailed it. This is what I needed.
Yeah, certain adapters, that's happened to me so many times, where you have two awesome pieces of equipment and you can't get from one to the other because you don't have that adapter. So,
or a tripod plate.
Yeah,
That's the worst.
Oh my gosh,
you pack your tripod,
definitely.
you pack your
Yeah.
camera, but the tripod plate was in the drawer, and you
It's time to break out the gaff.
you will never balance a camera on an empty tripod head. That's
Totally. I can't tell you, most of the time when I'm hired on a shoot, different levels of production, I'm hired to do everything audio. But I will bring all kinds of other things. I'll bring a laptop computer. I'll bring a battery charger that has nothing to do with any of my equipment. I'll bring a camera just in case. I'll bring a tripod for my phone just so I can get some production video to have for BTS behind the scenes. Taking that approach where you're not just focused on your own responsibility and your own position and thinking about how you could help others on set, that is incredibly valuable. And I'll tell you, you come up with that solution at a time of need, you're scoring points with everybody. People that you've worked with for a long time, you're strengthening relationships with them. People that you've never met, you're making a positive impression. And to be remembered as that person that kind of saved the day, that is invaluable to you moving forward in your career.
And see, for me, I seldom work with other video producers when I'm out on a shoot. It is me, myself, and I, and maybe whoever it is I'm interviewing for that corporate shoot. And so when I talk about mental headroom, that is exponentially important because not only do I have to get there on time and set everything up and make sure that I have all the equipment to get the quality of shoot done that they're paying me for, but I also have to interview the person. I have to be on. I have to be mentally engaging with them as a person while pressing record on the camera, making sure the microphone was on and pressing record on the audio recorder. And then making sure the levels and making sure that things didn't turn off, keeping an eye on my battery and record time while getting a good interview out of them. If you forgot a battery in that and your battery goes off on your camera and you're scrambling, game over. You are in now a free fall of anxiety of trying to figure out how you're going to get through this. And this has happened before. I had a high profile shoot and I showed up and I didn't charge my batteries because it was supposed to be quick. And I turn the camera on and I get like 2 minutes into this interview and my camera shuts off. I'm like, no worries, I have extra batteries. Pull out the extra one, dead. Pull out the extra one, dead. Pull out the extra one, dead. And I literally had to tell this team of people that I was interviewing, sorry, we're gonna have to reschedule. And there is nothing more embarrassing. There's nothing more embarrassing.
Absolutely. I have a similar story. I think it's even more embarrassing. I went to interview, and this is where I was a one-man band, okay, which is not my area of strength. I set up, camera, lighting, audio, arranged everything it was an office building, and there was an alcove there, and we made it look really nice with, some background furniture and plants and all this kind of stuff. And I spent all this time getting everything perfectly set up. The shot was beautiful. I did a test record and we're starting the interview. And I'm trying to make this, I'm so focused on everything else that's going on and trying to make this person feel comfortable at the same time that I forgot to hit record on the camera when we started the interview. And we did the first, 3 questions, and I look over at the camera just to check how far we were in roll time, and I see the record light is off. And I can't tell you the electrochemical panic that took over my body. And I'm sure that this person just saw beads of sweat just appear on my forehead immediately. And I had to say, well, that was a wonderful run through. I think that was great. So let's go ahead and do that again for safety,
Yep.
And it ended up working out. It wasn't a big waste of time, but imagine if I had done the entire interview without looking. I would have wasted everything. And when you're doing interviews with people, particularly when they're talking about things that are difficult for them or emotional topics, and you have them kind of pouring their hearts out, you don't want to have to redo that and try and get that same energy out of them.
You have to be prepared.
You do, absolutely. It is imperative that you do that.
So I make lists not only for my equipment list, but also my production checklist. Because as I have the interview, and the hardest part is when the talent walks in, and you have to not only engage in friendly banter with them, but you also have to set up simultaneously. Man, your brain's working overload. And if I don't have a checklist of, did you turn this on? Did you turn this on? Did you hit record on this? Did you tighten this? Did you press this button on this? I'm going to miss something. So make your lists, and do not think that you are above making mistakes because of a lack of preparation. Do not think that the bags that you have already packed have everything they need by assumption, because you may have taken something out that you don't even remember.
Yeah, just because it was there last time doesn't mean it's there this time, And Alan and I have a combined 30 plus years of experience, and we make these mistakes. So we're trying to help you to approach this with the mindset that helps you not to do that.
Luke makes them more.
I don't think so. Absolutely not. I'm far too organized for that.
The 30 plus years, he's like 20 of those. So
yeah, that's true. It is more on my side. Thank you. See the gray in this beard?
Yeah, well,
yes,
yeah,
that's experienced people.
See the flips in this hair? That's not experienced. So what we want you guys to do is, in the discussion board, start to discuss aspects of what we've talked about. If you guys have done shoots before, talk about aspects of that setup process, that packing process that you tend to forget. Is there a certain thing that your brain just doesn't gravitate toward? Because we all have that part of the entire process that our brain naturally kind of wants to forget.
Yeah, and we'd like you to think about, maybe even in your discussion post, take us through how you would prepare for a shoot, what you would do, and think about the things that we've suggested here, and possibly even incorporate some things of your own that you think would be helpful to particularly you.
Or maybe you have an embarrassing story of when you forgot something.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We would love to hear that as well.
Definitely.
But engage with each other, because there may be something that someone tends to forget that you've adopted. Like, oh, I used to do that too. Here's what I've done to make sure I never do that again. That would be an awesome discussion to see happen.
So we look forward to seeing your posts and to seeing you guys interact with each other, share your ideas and your experiences. And I guess we'll see you in the next lab discussion.
See you later.